Yasmina Reza is a specialist in living room combat. In her comedy God of Carnage, the Raleighs have come to the Novak's upscale apartment in Brooklyn to discuss an incident on a playground. The Raleigh's son hit the Novak's son in the face with a stick, breaking a couple of teeth and injuring a nerve. The interaction is stiff but civilized to begin with, but it soon becomes clear that each person in the room has a different agenda. The injured boy's mother, Veronica Novak, is more deeply invested than anyone else in the outcome of this meeting. She wants to be sure that the boys learn the right lesson from the incident, especially the offender, Benjamin, and she wants her son, Henry, to receive an apology. Veronica's single-mindedness in pursuit of her goal could not have been clearer than it was in Jessica John Kelly's performance in the recent production at the Theater Guild of Webster Groves. This was a driven Veronica whose resentment was never far from the surface. In contrast to Veronica, Alan Raleigh could not care less about the incident with the stick. He's a lawyer who was continually taking calls on his cell phone about an unseemly product liability case he's working on. At Webster, Scott Braccato left no doubt about the anger building up in Alan. Michael Novak and Annette Raleigh are at least trying to come to an agreement, but it doesn't take too long for underlying hostilities to escalate. Michael's frustrations were apparent in Matthew Lindquist's performance, and Nori Rhodes was very convincing when Annette became ill in one of the play's most striking moments. Under director Betsy Gosrowski and assistant director Amanda Vick, the play's humor was less boisterous than in other productions I've seen, but I liked that approach. I find myself appreciating subtleties in the script that I hadn't noticed before. The cast was convincing as the tensions between and within the couples created shifting alliances amid the hostilities. Reza's original French was translated by the distinguished British playwright Christopher Hampton. He actually did two English versions. The first one, for London, retained the original Paris setting. For Broadway, Hampton changed the setting to Brooklyn. The language of the Broadway version seems perfectly idiomatic for Americans to my ears. For the setting, the script specifies just a living room with no realism and nothing superfluous. The specification could have resulted in a very dull set, but the Theater Guild chose to add visual interest with a handsome, abstract backdrop. The program does not list a set designer, but I think the people in the set construction and painting crew deserve to be named. John Osterman, Jessica John Kelly, Matthew Lindquist, and Betsy Gosrowski. I'm glad this production was different from the others I've seen.
Yeah, and you mentioned the set, which that very small, very restricted stage at the Theater Guild of Webster Groves. They did interesting work on it, the way they presented it in this one.
Yes.